Spiders don't all build the same kind of web. Some spiders are web designers, while some just want to eat. The point is, the web isn't just a house. For many spiders, it's a weapon, alarm system, trap, and sensory network all at the same time. So today, we're going to look at 7 major types of spider webs and explain exactly how each one works. Number 1. Orb webs, the classic spider web. Let's start with the web everyone draws when they're asked to draw a spider, the orb web. That beautiful circular web with radial lines spreading out from the center and spiral threads connecting everything together. It looks simple, I think, but it is actually an extremely sophisticated trap. Here's how it works. We all know the spider doesn't just walk into the forest and say, "I need a web here." It has to build one. First, it needs an anchor. So, the spider sends out a strand of silk. If the wind carries that silk to another surface and it sticks, sweet. The spider has its first bridge. It then reinforces this structure. More silk is added. The spider creates the outer framework, and eventually, it has something resembling the skeleton of the web. And that's the first step. Step 2. Now, the spider creates lines running from the outside toward the center. These are called radial threads. Think of them like the spokes of a bicycle wheel. They're extremely important, because when something hits the web, the vibrations travel along these threads. So the spider doesn't necessarily need to see its prey. It can feel the web move. Imagine having a security system where your entire house is connected to your nervous system. That's basically what the spider has built. And the next step is the famous part. The spider creates a spiral running around the web. But hold on, check this out. The spider actually makes a temporary spiral first. This helps it organize the construction. Then it lays down the final capture spiral. And this is where things get sticky. The capture spiral can contain viscid glue droplets. So, when an insect flies into the web, its legs can become stuck. The spider, meanwhile, can move across specific, non-sticky structural threads. Basically, the spider knows where the landmines are. The fly doesn't. At this point, the spider is just there waiting and making that evil face we all make when we set up a good prank trap for our friends or siblings. Imagine you're a moth. You're flying through the night. You see nothing. Then, wham! You hit the web. Your wings get tangled, and you start struggling. You don't know this, but it's better you didn't struggle, because now the spider knows you here. Because your struggle caused a vibration on the web. For the spider, someone just rang the dinner bell. It runs toward the vibrations, wraps the prey in more silk, bites it, and eventually eats it. So the orb web isn't just a trap. It's also a giant vibration detection system. Some of the spiders that make this type of web are golden silk orb weavers, garden orb weavers, marbled orb weaver, barn spider, yellow garden spider, and every spider in the Aranidae family. Number 2. Sheet webs. Now forget the beautiful circle. Imagine a spider looking at an orb web and saying, because for it, that's too much geometry. Instead, it builds a flat sheet. Welcome to the sheet web. These webs are generally made of horizontal or slightly curved sheets of silk. The spider often sits above or below the sheet, waiting for something to fall or stumble into it. Here's how it catches its prey. Let's say an insect is flying through the air. It encounters the sheet. Maybe it lands on it or falls onto it. Maybe it gets tangled in the surrounding silk. And suddenly, the spider knows. The vibrations travel through the sheet. The spider rushes toward the disturbance. But here's the clever part. The spider doesn't necessarily need to make the entire sheet sticky. Instead, the structure itself can interfere with the insect's movement. The prey struggles. The web vibrates. And the spider uses those vibrations to locate it. The sheet is basically a spider sensor. Think of the web as a giant electronic security system, except instead of electrical wires, you've got silk. Instead of cameras, you've got vibrations. Instead of an alarm, well, you've got dinner detected. And because the sheet can cover a relatively large area, the spider gets a pretty impressive detection zone. Some sheet web spiders also build a tangle of threads above the sheet, and that creates another layer of protection. An insect flying through the space can collide with those threads, fall onto the sheet, and become trapped. It's basically a spider's version of a 2-story parking garage. Except the parking spaces are occupied by terrified insects. Common sheet web spiders are bowl and doily spider, hammock spider, grass spiders, funnel weavers, money spiders, basically any spider in the Linniphidae family. Number 3, tangle webs. Now, let's completely destroy the concept of neatness, because the tangle web looks like someone took a handful of silk, threw it into the air, nodded and said, "Perfect." These webs are also called cobwebs, when referring to the messy webs of many spiders. Instead of one neat surface, you get a three-dimensional network of silk threads. Some go up, some go down, some cross each other, some connect to nearby surfaces, and the entire thing looks chaotic. They are just not the artistic type, but it's not necessarily random. The trap works like this. An insect enters the web. Maybe it flies into one of the threads. Maybe it walks across the structure. Maybe it becomes suspended. The spider detects the vibrations, and then it approaches. Some tangle web spiders use sticky silk to make the prey even more difficult to escape. The more the insect struggles, the more it can become entangled. It's basically an insect getting stuck in a three-dimensional fishing net. Except there's no fisherman. There's just a spider waiting in the corner. You know, with that evil face again. In fact, this time is even worse because its trap worked. I think we all know how it feels when our beautifully constructed trap actually works. Yeah, feels good. And that's one of the advantages of the Tangle design. It doesn't need to be geometrically beautiful. It doesn't need perfect symmetry. It just needs to create enough threads to interfere with the movement of prey. So while humans look at it and say, "That's the worst cleaning job I've ever seen," the spider is looking at it and saying, "This is architecture." And spiders associated with this web are the black widow, American house spider, cupboard spiders, example, the brown house spider, also known as the false widow, cellar spiders, mainly spiders in the Theridiidae family. Next is the funnel webs. Now, imagine taking a sheet web and adding a tunnel to it. That's essentially the basic idea behind a funnel web. The web often consists of a sheet leading toward a funnel-shaped retreat. And at the end of that funnel, the spider is waiting. The spider doesn't chase its food. This is important. The spider isn't usually running around the neighborhood looking for insects. It has built a trap, so it waits. An insect lands on the sheet, it moves around, the vibrations travel through the silk, and the spider detects them. Then, zoom! The spider rushes out of its funnel. It grabs the prey and drags it back inside. Basically, the spider has built a driveway that leads directly to its dining room. Why the funnel? Okay, the funnel gives the spider a protected retreat. Instead of sitting exposed in the middle of its web, the spider can stay hidden, it can retreat quickly, and it can use the funnel as a safe location when it isn't hunting. So, the web performs two jobs, trap plus shelter. It's basically a house with a food delivery system attached. Funnel web spiders are grass spiders. They build large horizontal sheet webs that lead into a tube-like hiding funnels. Australian funnel web spiders, barn funnel weavers, and spiders from the Agelenidae and Atracidae family. Number 5. Triangle webs. Now we're getting into something more unusual. The triangle web. And yes, it's basically what it sounds like. The spider creates a roughly triangular sheet of silk. But here's the really cool part. The spider doesn't simply wait for an insect to randomly fall into it. The web can be held under tension, and the spider can use that tension to help capture prey. It's not wearing a superhero costume, but it's supposed to be. Imagine the spider holding part of the web under tension. An insect approaches. The spider releases or manipulates the silk, and the web can move rapidly toward the prey. Instead of, "Please walk into my web," it's more like, "I'm bringing the web to you." The structure can be pulled backward and released, helping intercept flying insects. It's essentially a tiny, biological, spring-loaded trap. And that's pretty ridiculous. Because now we've gone from spider web to spider weapon system. This works because flying insects are difficult targets. They're fast. They can change direction. And they don't necessarily want to land on a web. So instead of relying entirely on the insect making the mistake, the spider uses the stored tension in its web. When the insect enters the correct position, the spider releases the tension. The web moves. The insect gets caught, and dinner is served. Some of the super spiders are triangle weaver, Ackermann's triangle web spiders, and other spiders in the Hyptiotes genus within the Uloboridae family. The next one is tubular or purse webs. We're going in the opposite direction. Instead of building a giant exposed web, some spiders build something much more private. A tube, or in some cases, a purse-like silk retreat. The spider essentially creates a small silk structure that provides shelter, and the spider stays inside, more like a spider house. Unlike an orb web, the structure isn't primarily designed to catch prey in a giant visible net. Instead, the spider uses silk around a hiding place. It may extend silk threads outward. These can act as sensory lines. Something touches the silk. The spider feels the vibration, and now it knows. Something is outside. Depending on the species and web design, the spider may rush out and attack prey near the entrance, or it may wait for prey to become trapped. So, the silk structure is both home plus alarm system. Some purse web spiders construct a silk tube that can be concealed in soil, leaf litter, bark, or other surfaces. The spider remains hidden inside. From the outside, you might not even realize there's a spider there, and that's the point. The spider doesn't need a huge visible web. It can stay concealed. Wait, detect vibrations. And strike when prey gets close. It's basically the spider equivalent of, you can't see me, but I can see you quite all right. Spiders include the purseweb spider, Atlantic purseweb spider, and Calomata species, mostly Atypidae family. 7. Lacy or mesh webs. And finally, we have one of the most beautiful web designs, the lacy or mesh web. Instead of a circular orb or a flat sheet, or a chaotic tangle, you get a dense network of fine silk. It can look almost like fabric, or lace, hence the name. And here's how it catches prey. The basic idea is to create a dense maze of fine threads. An insect flies into it. Its movement becomes disrupted. It may become tangled. The web vibrates, and the spider detects the disturbance. Depending on the species, the web may contain different types of silk and different structural layers. But the fundamental principle remains. Make it difficult for prey to move. The insect struggles. The silk moves. The spider follows the vibrations. And the predator arrives. Spiders here primarily include ones from the Amerobiidae family, black laceweaver, window laceweaver, black house spider, and other family members. And there's actually a reason for the difference in these webs. Because you might be thinking, if spider webs are so effective, why didn't every spider just evolve the same web? Because different spiders live in different environments, and different prey behave differently. Imagine trying to catch a flying moth. You need one strategy. Trying to catch a crawling insect on the ground? Different strategy. Living in a tree? Different. Living in a crack in a wall? Different. Living underground? Different. And that's why spider webs evolved into so many different designs. An orb web is excellent for intercepting flying insects. A sheet web creates a broad catching surface. A tangle web creates a three-dimensional obstacle course. A funnel web combines a trap with a protected retreat. A triangle web can use tension to help capture prey. A tubular or purse web provides shelter and sensory detection. And a lacy mesh web creates a dense network that can interfere with prey movement. Different shapes, different environments, different hunting strategies, but they all rely on the same incredible material, silk. And spider silk is insane. Spider silk is incredibly strong for its weight. But strength isn't its only advantage. Different silks can have different properties. Some are structural, some are sticky, some are used for wrapping prey, some are used to construct egg sacs, some are used for draglines, some are used for retreats. So when you say a spider makes a web, that's just a simpler way of saying a spider manufactures several specialized biological materials and assembles them into a hunting system. Wow! Let's just stick with a spider makes a web. And the spider is doing all of this without a blueprint. No construction crew, no measuring tape, and without even having hands. And the part humans will see and be like, sweet, is that, for many web-building spiders, the web itself becomes an extension of their sensory system. Imagine you're sitting in your house. You can't see the front door, but every time someone touches the doorknob, you feel a vibration through the walls. And depending on where that vibration occurs, you know exactly where the person is. That's essentially what the web can do. The spider sits there, waiting. Then, twang, a thread moves. The spider knows something happened. Another vibration. The spider can determine the direction. More movement. And it can estimate what kind of prey may be involved. The web isn't just a trap. It's a giant sensory organ. Only, you have to rebuild or repair the web when it gets damaged. Orb-weaving spiders are particularly famous for this. Some will even consume portions of their old silk and recycle the proteins. Basically, the spider can tear down its old house, eat some of the building materials, and build a new one. Imagine eating your old house because you couldn't afford construction materials. That's basically spider economics. So which web is the best? Well, if we're talking about beautiful, then it's the orb web. But if we're talking about perfect, then try setting up an orb web underground. Evolution isn't trying to make one perfect web. It's producing different solutions that work well enough in different circumstances. Thanks for your time.